For the US government, 77% of the energy that's used in the US government's by the military. And 1% of all the energy in the US is used by the military itself. So the military have targets as well to actually go into green, out with, vehicles they're using for battle, etc. So how is the military going to be using your device, and how are they going to deploy it? And what's the benefits of using what you're doing compared to, say, traditional diesel generators taking power outside?
Well, again, there's lots of different ways to use the wind turbine. Starting with our domestic military installations, they are all looking to become more green, but more importantly, more resilient and more redundant in their power systems. For example, the U.S. Air Force, their Tyndall Air Force Base back in Florida was completely wiped out in one of the recent hurricanes. And so after that happened, they came back with a commitment to build the base of the future. And so they needed more resiliency and redundancy. And so our system represents that ability to provide power where you need it. It's not tethered by the power grid, and it's not relying on a fossil fuel. So if there is that kind of natural disaster that takes out your utility power systems, well, we have a solution that can respond and bring power where you need it. Well, one, it can provide good, reliable power 24/7, 365. But if there is that emergency situation, now you have a mobile power source that you can move around and bring power where you need it. Speaking of the United States Air Force, they occupy a phenomenal amount of acreage throughout the country. And so they have power needs all over the place. And really so their power grid doesn't extend to all areas of their military installations. So really that was one of the prime motivations in our initial development, was creating a more reliable, more cost-effective solution than the diesel generator for that edge of grid electrification. So we've got a great solution for that. Then when you talk about going into the battlefield, well, one, the U.S. military has made a commitment to electrify their fleet. And there are operational advantages of running electric power systems, your electric power vehicles, electric everything. It reduces heat signature. You have instantaneous torque out of your vehicles. You can move around silently. There's really a lot of advantages. But where do you get the electricity in the battlefield? And so that's a solution that we can potentially help with. Granted, the amount of power that we make, it's not going to, power large fleets of electric vehicles, but in those battlefield type environments, we can easily put a unit in the field and generate a meaningful amount of power. Or when you look at the support systems, so one of the projects that we're engaged on is, again, with the U.S. Air Force on a project that they call the Expedient Basing Challenge. And so this is all about quickly setting up U.S. Air Force bases on small islands in the Pacific Ocean that are proximate to the conflict zone. So they want to be able to go out to these probably uninhabited islands and quickly set up an Air Force base, and then be able to break it down quickly when they leave. And so obviously one of the critical pieces of infrastructure there is going to be the power component. And that's where we shine. You put our wind turbines in shipping containers so they can easily be shipped to these islands. They can roll them off. And actually, we're developing a remote control system for our portable wind turbine so that you don't even need a tow vehicle. You can drive it wherever you want under its own remote control. And then the whole system sets up in a matter of 15 or 20 minutes. But we have a very significant amount of battery storage in the trailer, so those units can be deployed with those batteries fully charged, meaning the moment you arrive, you plug in, you get all the power you need. And then you use the wind turbine and the solar feature to keep those batteries charged. So it's very valuable in that regard. I was just in an event last week. It was called the TEVCON, the Tactical EV Convention. And so this was all about bringing electric innovators together with the various branches of the military to help support this transition to an electrified fleet. And one of the quotes from one of the top presenters that was there was, fossil fuels are the Achilles heel of the US military. So they are looking to, get away from the burden of fossil fuel, which, kind of jumping around a little bit here, but when you're talking about forward operating bases in the military, uh, they are constrained by the amount of energy that they can take with them. And so, since most of them are being powered by their AMPS generators, which run on fossil fuels, they have to deliver the fuel out to these forward operating bases. One, the fuel delivery is extremely expensive. They burn more fuel in the delivery process than they're actually able to deliver. And the landed cost of fuel, it's upwards of $900 per gallon for a landed cost. But even more importantly, though, the fuel delivery, that is the most dangerous job in the military. Yeah, because the bad guys know, hey, if we take out that fuel convoy, all those guys that are waiting for the fuel, they're going to be stranded. So there's an awful lot of applications for our system in military. I mean, those are some high level applications, but the size and the scope. I mean, you just talked about the amount of power consumption that the military is responsible for. So there is just everything runs on energy, and we have a unique system that's going to help them be more effective in their missions.
Yeah, and I also think for the viewers to understand that, if you go to war with people, one of the parts of the trade war is that if you're getting fuel or you're getting oil from these countries, then they can hold that for you. The oil becomes more expensive. Suddenly the cost of your military can go up 50, 60%, i.e. what's sort of happening with Russia and Ukraine and Europe, etc. People need to realize that, yeah, we thought we would do the sort of embargoes against Russia to stop them selling oil, but then India and China bought up all the surplus that was going to Europe. But on the other hand, everyone in Europe's prices for their gas and their oil went up. So it's not it's not just as simple as people think. Oh well, this. So one of the key advantages going to renewable energy is suddenly you're not relying on a third country supplying you your energy source, which in America right now or in California, since Biden's taken to office, we've doubled. Well, I think it's a 50% increase in our oil imports from Saudi Arabia. Who knows how things lie, but suddenly if Saudi Arabia cut production or the price of oil goes up to $120, $130 a barrel, it's like a huge difference that's happening here as well. So, everything's sort of connected.